Coming up on today's show, we're breaking down some of the latest college football transfer portal news and rumors out there and how it could affect Alabama here in the near future. Before we get into breaking down some of the latest proposals for the transfer portal, I want to hear from you guys down inside the comments section. How many transfer portal windows do you think college football should have? Should it be one or should it be two? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section of today's video. How many transfer portal windows should there be in college football? What's going on, Alabama fans? Chris Daughtry here with the Alabama Football Report by Chat Sports. And the latest around college football, the NCAA Division I Administration Committee has now approved the elimination of the spring transfer portal window. So there's only going to be one window instead of two transfer portal windows. You're not going to have that spring one. It's now only going to be in the wintertime. Now, I do like that there's only going to be one transfer portal window, but there is still going to be some bugs in the process that I do think are going to annoy a lot of college football coaches out there. And this is just going to be one big step in the process of this decision making. They still need to figure out and approve when the transfer portal window is actually going to be. If a head coach gets fired, that 30-day window is still going to be in effect. It's going to open up for players to hit the portal, which I'll be honest, it doesn't make much sense to me. I feel like if your coach gets fired, you should stick with the team and put more film on tape, and then when it opens up in the wintertime, just get in the portal then. But that's neither here nor there. Maybe some players want to protect their health and things like that, which I totally understand. But you can't actually go to your new school during the football season. So it really doesn't make sense to me during the season. But anyways, there is still some discrepancy right now on how long that single transfer portal will end up lasting. I think the goal is to allow teams to finish their season before the transfer portal window actually opens up. But there's still going to be a lot of problems here. The big one is the academic calendars don't actually line up with the college football calendars. Everybody starts classes at different times. It really doesn't matter if it's the SEC or the Big Ten. There's schools within the SEC that will start classes, from a week-to-week basis on different weeks here. And if you're a student athlete, you have to make a decision quickly so you can enroll in your new school by that school's enrollment deadline. It's not the NCAA transfer portal deadline. So there's a lot of different moving parts, when it comes to the transfer portal here. And some folks in the SEC and in the Big Ten are not real big fans of what they're looking at right now. This is what an anonymous SEC GM told On3 about kind of how things are working out right now with the way things with the transfer portal kind of look. He said, let's just say that we agree to deal with player A and get a signed agreement. But because of the calendar, he doesn't report to school for 20 more days. On day 16, school X, because they missed on players B and C and offer him more because they're desperate, they're now back to square one with player A, and they hold all the leverage to renegotiate. That is not a sustainable way to do, these types of negotiations when it comes out or when it comes to the transfer portal. Now, there are two different proposed dates right now for these transfer portal windows. It's either going to be a 10-day window or it's going to be a 15-day window. Either way, it's going to start on January 2nd and either run through January 11th or January 16th. That new proposal was actually reported very recently by Matt Zenitz on September 29th. So the original one was back, I believe, on September 17th when they actually approved this. That new window date was reported much later on September 29th. And, this still needs to be approved by the NCAA Administrative Committee. And they are supposed to meet again here coming up, at the end of next week or at the end of this week, October 7th and 8th. So we'll see if they end up approving or talking about one of these two dates here. But either way, we'll talk about it here in just a second. I think there's pros and cons to both of these possible outcomes for the transfer portal. Make sure you guys drop a like for me on today's video. We're going up against, this should actually be October. That's my bad. I totally grabbed the last graphic from September. We're in an October-like battle here with Tennessee Football Talk, and I want to crush them. We meet them in 3 weeks, the 3rd, Saturday in October, so I want to have more likes than them by the time we get to that game. So help me out and like today's video, and let's get ahead of Joey Peterson in the Tennessee football talk. All right, coming up next on today's show, we are going to break down some of those pros and cons to these different transfer portal dates and, proposals, and whether or not, a winter one or a spring one would actually make more sense for college football. Before we get into that, though, want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's show. That is Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. They have so many different types of options that you guys can choose from on Prize Picks, whether it's professional football, college sports, MMA, baseball, basketball, and so much more. Prize Picks is a ton of fun, and if you guys know ball, you can win real money all season long on Prize Picks. This is the power play that we got cooked up for you guys this week for this Alabama versus Vanderbilt matchup. Going with Diego Pavia, more than just a half passing touchdown there. Go with Jam Miller, more than 12.5 receiving yards. And then Ty Simpson, more than 2.5 passing touchdowns. Prize Picks is super simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in today. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on football in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and yes, the state of Alabama as well. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, which means you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want more on Josh Allen passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns. Now you can pick all 3 of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. So download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link is down in the description of today's show. It's also going to be down at the pinned comment of today's show as well. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, so like I said, we have some different pros and cons to these transfer portal proposals here. The pro here, there's only going to be one window. Coaches only have to deal with, losing players and going out there and vetting and getting other players into their program only one time now. They don't have to do it a second time. And whether or not you want it to be in early January or post-spring, I think that could be argued. That could be up for debate. But at least from a coach's perspective, they only have to deal with this once. Now, there is a con to this as well, especially if it's going to be in that January window. It's right smack in the middle of the college football playoffs. The NCAA keeps saying that, the window being in January is the best option because teams are finished with their season and their bowl games. But not all teams are actually finished with their season. It's literally right in the middle of the college football playoffs. And it was a problem last year with teams, and it's going to be a problem going forward if they end up doing it during that January timeframe as well. And Ryan Day spoke up on this and talked about the fact that he was not a fan, and the Big Ten was not a fan of a winter transfer portal window. He said, I don't think it is a good idea at all. In the conversations that we've had with the Big Ten coaches, I think the majority of them agree. I just don't quite understand how teams that are playing in the playoffs are expected to make the decisions and sign their upcoming players while they're still getting ready to play in games, especially big-time college football playoff games. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, there are definitely some dates that you need to know when it comes to kind of that time of the year, right? You have that early signing period for high school players. That's in early December, so you get that at least out of the way in early December. That's going to be the 3rd through the 5th this year. And then you have your SEC championship game. Most of the big-time college conference championship games are on that same weekend as December 6th. So it might be on the Friday, it might be on a Sunday. It doesn't really matter. It's that same weekend. The college football playoffs run through December 31st through January 19th, and the proposed transfer portal window right now is January 2nd through January 16th, so right in the middle. So now coaches, teams, the student athletes all have to make these important decisions right in the middle of the most important part of the season, and it all falls back to the academic calendars as well. These institutions don't align themselves with their academic calendars with the college football calendar. So if it's going to be in January, it has to be right in the middle of the college football playoffs, so players who are transferring can get enrolled into their new schools for that spring semester in order to participate in spring practice. So I want you guys to get down inside the comments and let me know which transfer portal window you think is the best window. Type S if you think that spring window is a better window, or type W if you think the winter window would be a better window. I think both of them have cons, and I think both of them has pros. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section of today's video. Now, like I said, there's going to be a downside to either one, but there is at least a fix, I think, for that winter transfer portal window. The spring window, the big con for that is players are going to end up missing out on spring ball. And maybe that's just the consequences to transferring to another school. Maybe consequences isn't really the right word to use there, because you don't want to, say it's like, you're punishing a player for transferring schools, but at least it's not during the playoffs. The winter transfer portal window, I think the way to fix that is you just move the start of the season up. I honestly think it's kind of an easy fix. You see high school football starting like 2-3 weeks before the college football season starts anyways. I think college football could do the same thing, and I get it, especially in the South. It's hot, but you can do things to fix that. You can have those extra, official timeouts for water breaks, during some of those games. But I think you could just move the season up about 3 weeks. You have the conference championship games on the same weekend as the Army-Navy game. You'd be eliminating that free week in the college football schedule there. Bowl games don't actually start until December 13th. That's another week that's being missed. That's just totally wasted in that, college football calendar anyways. And if you start the season 2 to 3 weeks earlier, you cut out all the wasted weeks and have the national championship game on New Year's Day. The portal can open up the very next day on January 2nd, so they're not having to deal with, players going in, players going out while they're trying to prepare for these big-time college football playoff games. And I think it really should be an easier fix than kind of what they're making it out to be right now. But like I said, every situation is going to have a bunch of different pros, going to have a bunch of different cons. You also have TV contracts and things like that to figure out as well. But I think if you just move the season up, I think that can fix a lot of things. Make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report. Whether it's Alabama news or just general news around college football that will affect the Crimson Tide, we have got you covered. We also got you covered live for every single Alabama game as well. So do not miss out. Hit that sub button at youtube.com/@RollTideTV.